Hello, students. Chapter 9, Lord of the Flies, A View to a Death. I'm going to start with a question. Why is this chapter starting with abstract imagery rather than concrete imagery as he's done in all of the other chapters? All the other chapters, you have things like shadows, trees, water, mountain, fire, shell, you very concrete images, but in this chapter, it's a view to a death, two things that are not concrete at all. Why does Golding choose that as the title of his chapter? I don't know, but that's a good question to ask. There's some ominous imagery at the beginning of this chapter, and it has to do with the weather. Let me just read the first sentence. Over the island, the buildup of clouds continued. And you get this constant buildup, this ominous imagery. The atmosphere is getting darker. It is getting humid. There is a buildup, just like before a storm, how it gets super humid and then there's like this release that happens when the storm comes, but there is a buildup first. Obviously, that's paralleling some buildup that's happening in the chapter. Now that you've read it, which by the way, don't keep watching this if you haven't read it. Read the chapter. I'll pause. Okay, good. We know that buildup is Simon's death. We have imagery of Jack on page 149 that I wanted to point out. And it's at the top of the page. It says this, and Jack, painted and garlanded, sat there like an idol. There were piles of meat on green leaves near him and fruit and coconut shells full of drink. There's something about Jack that he is like an idol. An idol is something that you worship falsely as opposed to the truth, a true God, a true idea. And here we have Jack, who is like an idol. And the boys are attracted to him. There's something that he's offering that they like. And we see that even when we are going after things that are not good for us, obviously there's something about it that we like. That's why there is temptation in the world. So I point that out because that's really important here in a little bit. Piggy's unifying alienation happens on 149 at the bottom, where he gets burnt with this piece of meat, and everybody's in this really tense situation because Ralph and Piggy have arrived. But when he says, ow, well, he doesn't say ow, but he yells. It says they bumped Piggy, who was burnt, and yelled and danced. Immediately, Ralph and the crowd of boys were united and relieved by a storm of laughter. Piggy once more was the center of social derision, so that everyone felt cheerful and normal. To deride something means to hate it, to look down upon it, to be condescending toward it. So that's how the boys feel about Piggy. And you can unite under derision. In fact, some of the great fascists, they unite under deriding a certain race or a certain group of people. And so all of the people that are there, they feel united when they look down upon Piggy. I wonder if that's important. The next thing I want to point out is there are clues that Golding gives us about what this society is that Jack is developing. Remember, he's like an idol. And if you look on page 150, toward the middle, it says this, I gave you food, said Jack, and my hunters will protect you from the beast who will join my tribe. So when someone is trying to draw you into their society, when a fascist is trying to draw people, they will offer them food and they will offer them protection. And to have protection, you have to have an enemy. And so the beast is the enemy, and Jack is building his tribe by having a common thing that they go against, a common enemy, and that means it's the beast. But then on page 152, what else does he offer? It says this, Piggy and Ralph, under the threat of the sky, found themselves eager to take a place in this demented but partly secure society. They know that it's crazy, but there is a security. So Jack's society is offering them food, things that people want, things that we have a taste for. It's offering them security, protection, and it's offering them a unified front against a common enemy. And those are all things that people will join society that they may not particularly agree with, but they'll join it anyway for those benefits. Then, of course, we have the imagery of Simon's death, which is very sad. You'll notice that Jack starts a chant, and oftentimes when you're going to do something that's hard to do, that goes against the conscience, that a group of people in a mob mentality will develop some kind of a chant to get them kind of revved up to do something that they know is wrong or something that's a little risky. And so that's what they do with this: kill the beast, cut his throat, spill his blood, and then it's do him in with Simon. Simon is actually in his right mind at this point, although he's fainted a few times. And he's coming out of the forest and he's crying, and he says Simon was crying about something about a dead man on a hill. And then again, it says something about a body on the hill. Now, you'll recall that I told you that Simon is a possible Christ figure, and a Christ figure is an archetype that comes up in literature. And of course, that Christ figure is in some way mirroring the life or death of Jesus. And obviously, in this time, that would have been at the forefront of a cultured society in Great Britain, is that you would know about religion and specifically Christianity. And so here you have Simon, this possible Christ figure, talking about a man on a hill that's dead, possibly some kind of cryptic imagery to that of Jesus dying on Calvary's hill. You also have him dying for the sake of trying to tell them the truth. He's trying to tell them the truth. They don't want to hear it. They want a unified front against a beast. And so there's lots of other imagery too that may indicate that this is indeed a Christ figure. And of course, this is one of those moments in the book where people have looked at this and said, aha, maybe we have a Christ figure here. We have all the ways that Simon was helping the young ones. He was helping, he was gracious, he was meditating, going away by himself to meditate. Jesus went away to pray, away from everybody. So there's lots of parallels to Jesus, and that's why he's considered a Christ figure by many people. And so we're left with his death, and then the flies come, iridescent little bulbs, it says in the last part of the book, these little flies, they come, and they actually land on Simon's head, and then he's drug out to sea by the tide. What do we make of this? What's going on? Golding, what are you doing? Oh, now there's also the death of Simon and like how he dies, which I'm not going to go into, but this is one of the reasons why the book has been banned oftentimes, and people are not allowed to read it. But the imagery is vague enough that we can maybe deduce or use some inductive reasoning that, what may have happened here that's really grotesque. So, what's the purpose? Obviously, Simon's death. There's a unity now in the darkness of Jack's camp. There's an allure to it. There's a temptation to join for the security and for the benefits. And now we see a contrast between the tribe of Ralph. Now think about Ralph's tribe and how there was order, there was law, there was unity, but the unity was around a law, in having duties, in everybody doing what they need to do to have a flourishing society. That's not what we have here. This is a very different type of society. We have a major contrast going on. So I think that's a purpose of the chapter. Some questions to consider. There's so many. Obviously, this is a major moment in the book. I wouldn't quite call it the climax, but it's building up to the climax. In order to have the climax, we have to have Simon die. So what are the questions? What is Simon's death also the death of? And another question is, what is it the birth of? What is now being born, and what is dying? So what's dying? Truth, goodness, faith? Is it just a boy? Remember that this is a highly symbolic book. What is coming to life? Evil, the pent of savagery coming to life. I don't know. These are just questions that I have, and we will see what happens. Why does Simon go up the mountain? Why does he keep saying, well, maybe we just need to go see this thing. Maybe we need to go up, and even ask himself. He says, what else is there to do? And then he goes up the mountain. Why is he obsessed with this? Is it an obsession with truth? Is it an obsession with helping? Why? Next, what's wrong with Simon? Okay, I haven't really brought this up yet, but he faints. He goes off by himself. He is talking to a dead pig on a stick. There's a lot of things going on with Simon that don't seem right. What's wrong with him? Good question. And what is Jack's society supposed to parallel in Golding's view? Is it a parallel of some fascist rising? Is it a parallel of some spiritual element? What's it paralleling? I hope you're thinking about these things. These are good questions to have. I am not the be all end all. I don't know everything about this book. I don't claim to. However, there are lots of questions I have. And with the limited knowledge I have of Golding's life, of what was going on at that time after World War II, with the Korean War and all those things that are going on, with the highly Judeo Christian society in Great Britain and America and in the West in general, Golding is obviously giving us some messages here. They're hidden with the imagery and with the symbolism, but what is it? And what is it saying about human nature in general? I hope that you have enjoyed this little lecture, and I hope you keep thinking as we continue on with the next chapter.